At the Business Renewables Centre, a few months ago, we released our social licence to operate guide, and it's really designed to help set best practice thinking for companies and organisations that are signing up to corporate power purchase agreements to make sure it's not just about the energy, but when you're investing in local and regional communities, you're thinking about local supply chains, creating local jobs for local communities, looking after the biodiversity, maybe some developments with agricultural communities as companies, their brands are associated with these projects. It makes it more critical that companies are not just thinking about electricity, but they have a long-term relationship with that project and therefore potential, brand and reputation. So I'd be interested in your perspective on that.
Great question. It's one of the key levers we've been looking at with mining companies when developing business cases and looking at options. When you're looking at large renewable projects, they need obviously land and proximity to the grid and then also a customer. And I suppose we've been focusing on some of the complexity of that. So a very recent business case we just completed a few weeks ago, they've chosen to go behind the meter. They will stay connected to the grid. Initially, they will build enough to be able to optimize for their own load profile. And then they will look to potentially expand and provide stabilization services and capacity services back into the grid. One of the key drivers for that outcome was when they looked at their provision for closure. In Australia and around the world, we do have a real issue with legacy assets that have been abandoned or stranded. And the regulators have been focused on how they can get progressive mine closure in place. And we've still got a way to go to actually get proper rehabilitation done. This saw the ability to repurpose their site in the longer term to an energy precinct and potentially be able to provide renewable energy back into the grid once their mining has stopped, and then also be able to, with the cost savings, generate the money to be able to progressively close and repurpose their site. So that was one lever, which is hard to put a tangible value around from an economics perspective, but it was definitely one lever that they were very, very interested in. And the second one was by doing something on their own site, they would be able to develop jobs in the local community that would be developing, constructing and managing a renewable energy project. So for their instance, it made sense for them to look to do something behind the meter from the economics and the risk perspective. But what I think turned the final decision that way was the longer term social license to operate benefits they could foresee.